I was thinking the other day, maybe we'd have more of an audience if we introduced every show as if we were expecting people who had never listened to a previous one to be listening to this one.
No, I thought of like a way to do this. Instead of having it where we have the Hack Fraud Show and a quote from inside that episode, we just do the titles of the movies.
Oh.
So anyone looking up The Shining might stumble upon it.
Well, I always tag the names of the movies in the videos, but I don't know if that works or not. Also, I think, John, you may have floated this idea a while ago, but I actually want to do it now. I realize it's been a while, but we should make an all Wes Anderson movies episode to directly respond to the vidiots.
Well, I kind of wanted to do, like, when they did the Wes Anderson one, I'm like, oh, you people are wrong! And I just wanted to do an episode just to vent out all my issues with that episode.
Oh, does that mean I have to listen to that episode too?
Not if you don't want to. It could just be John and me. But if you want to hear my name uttered on a podcast, feel free to... and they pronounced it correctly, even.
Yeah, they did. It was a good case. And we had Darren Franich saying, his name is Tyler Aquilina.
I still haven't met that man. I should have paid the $100 to be on the show. I'll never get another chance. Now it's too late.
It's too late. Oh goodness. Hey, maybe they'll do it again. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So boys, this is the Hack Fraud Show.
Yes, it is.
Whoa! I made notes.
So did I.
This is. I'm too lazy for that shit. This is Halloween week, part 2.
Yes, we're actually recording this the day before Halloween, but you fine folks won't hear this until after Halloween. So
you'll probably hear this around. You'll probably hear this around the Day of the Dead, or the day after the Day of the Dead.
We'll see what happens.
Or the day after the day after the Day of the Dead.
From the past.
Woo! Oh God, don't do that. That's hell. That's Satan. This week, we examined 2. I mean, one of them was not quite a spooky film, but it has the aura of.
It has trampings of spook.
Sure. That would be Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. And then we also examined a legitimately spooky film, which I found less than spooky.
As did probably most of us.
Which would be John Carpenter's original 1978 Halloween. And I also, this past week,
Featuring John Carpenter's The Thing.
No, that's featuring Howard Hawks' The Thing, which John Carpenter would remake after Halloween.
Oh.
Very interesting.
That was an interesting touch.
Which I actually watched John Carpenter's The Thing this past week as well.
Okay. And it spooked you?
It is one of the few movies that I found legitimately scary. There are jump scares in there that actually work, and the creature work in that is actually quite good, in my opinion. I would encourage you guys to give it a look. It's far better and more interesting than Halloween, but...
Yeah, like, after Halloween, I was like, do I want to do... No, I can't watch The Thing. I can't do this. Granted, I didn't have the time regardless.
Well, I've also heard Assault on Precinct 13 is very good, but...
Maybe I'll just look up the ones of Harry Dean Stanton.
Oh yeah, he was in like 2 of those. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, okay, so... What else have we been watching? I, of course, highly recommend The Thing.
Does YouTube count?
No.
No, it doesn't count. No, it doesn't. Okay,
also, I watched the first episode of Stranger Things.
How is that?
How is that?
It's not bad. I'm intrigued. I'll have to watch more before I can render an official verdict on it. But
I've mostly heard good out of that show.
Yeah.
I won't watch it.
I heard it was quite spooky and it scared some people, but then again,
the plebeians are easily scared.
Yeah, it's definitely a
What have I been watching? I watched Fritz Lang's M.
Ooh, how is that?
Oh, what's Magnificent? Like it's one of the first. It's Fritz Lang's first sound movie, and the use of sound in it is fascinating. Like there's constant sound bridges, and he's using sound to define characters, which I'm thinking, was anyone doing that in the early era of sound?
I'm not sure.
I'm not. I don't know. It seems like, especially considering like most early sound moved terrible. I'm honestly impressed by Fritz Lang's M.
That's good. Also, I forgot.
Lovely German expressionism.
I also watched a movie that was actually influenced by German expressionism, though it was made in America and much later. That would be Charles Laughton's *The Night of the Hunter*.
Ooh.
That movie is quite excellent. I would highly recommend it. John, I think you would enjoy it immensely.
Oh my! A recommendation for a personal recommendation.
Yes. Robert.
What's it about?
Robert Mitchum plays this corrupt preacher who. This is apparent right from the start. This isn't a spoiler. He is also a bit of a wanton criminal, and he comes to this family, this woman who is recently widowed, to try and obtain money that her husband stole, and has some great child performances in it. I don't want to spoil too much of it because there's a lot about it that's great and a lot of kind of twists and turns.
Tyler, does it have goofy angles?
Oh, it has goofy angles.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Let's see, what else have I seen anything else?
I also think that movie may have been influenced by M because the preacher announces himself with a certain song, not the same one used in M, but like
the same sort of like the character is defined by what he's singing.
Yes.
Ooh, that's interesting. Let's see, what else did it says a lot because I can't fucking remember it. I think maybe M was the only thing I saw.
Okay. I had hoped that I was going to see Moonlight tonight, but my roommate is not back yet, and I heard he drove out to the desert to shoot something, so who knows when he's going to get back.
How far away is the desert where you're at?
I'm not really sure. I've never been, but my roommate's a weird guy, as you know.
Because from my temporal forest location, that just sounds insane. Do we want to move on to the main event?
Let's talk some movies. Some movies that we watch specifically for this podcast, anyway.
Of course, the one that'll be in the tag.
Yes. What do you want to start with? The Scissorhands?
I think we're gonna have a lot. Sure, let's do Scissorhands. We're gonna have a lot more to say about it.
All right. Well, let's talk 1990s. Tim Burton directed, Johnny Depp starring, Edward Scissorhands. John, Garrett, this movie is flawed. It's very strange.
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of all over the place, and I think I love it.
I think I love this movie.
One interesting thing I noticed right from the get-go was that this weird dichotomy of It's pretty clear that Tim Burton hates suburbia. There's also this thing in the back of his head where he goes, "Oh, I love how organized it is, and I love all the design aspects of it. Oh, there's so many wonderful things I can do with this."
Yes,
and that was fascinating.
That was one of my first notes. Was this is Tim Burton's vision of suburban hell.
All the houses are like this one horrifying color. All the cars have colors that go with the houses. There are all these housewives that flock back to the house once the husbands come home.
And they have absolutely nothing to do during the day. And then one of them, towards the beginning, I forget her name, but basically she's watching a repairman repair the dishwasher. And I'm like, please God, this is like a pseudo porno.
They have nothing to do but turn to God or drool over the scissorman.
Yeah. So this is, interestingly, I think I've talked about this a little bit, but this is another movie that I saw when I was rather young, and it really freaked me out. And much like E.T., I have now rediscovered its merits.
Was it the scissors for hands?
I don't know what it was. I remember, rewatching it now, I remembered a lot of the stuff, and I don't remember, what it was that, freaked me out about this. With E.T., it was very specifically like the stuff at the end where like the astronaut guys like invade the house and he turns white and everything.
That's shot like a horror movie.
Yeah. With this, I'm not really sure what it was. I don't know.
This movie has a bizarre tone, and I think that maybe it has to do with like this suburban neighborhood turns on Edward Scissorhands so quickly and it's on a fucking dime.
Yeah.
There's almost kind of like there's a weird parallel to M. There's a weird damning of mob mentality.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I was going to point out was like the tone of this movie is very different than what I remembered. It's like borderline cartoonish sometimes, and like that is just not how I remembered it at all. I
just kept on wondering, why didn't Tim Burton just go into animation? Like, he was working for Disney at one point. Why didn't he just go straight into animation?
I don't know.
Yeah, this was pretty animated. And like I kind of sort of knew, even though I never saw this movie, from the title sequence, because this had the visuals of Batman, but the music of Elf, granted, because Tim Burton and then Danny Elfman.
But the Danny Elfman movie is really, it's not a case of like, ooh, spooky, it's really whimsical, and ooh, look at this neighborhood.
Well, because like,
quite whimsical.
A lot of the like, window dressing of this movie would suggest like a very kind of like gothic kind of, tone to it. But no, it's like, it's funny, it's weird, it's like...
It's brightly colored.
Cartoony,
like, everything is like like these bright primary pastels everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's also like, and I think part of this comes from like the way he shoots it, because like it's very, very wide angle, very distorted sometimes. Like there's something just a little bit off about it. Like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, there is always this. There is kind of this leering, like when like the town is all like, "Ooh, look at this man." There's always kind of this. There is something threatening about this neighborhood. There is something threatening about these people.
Sort of like it sort of asks, "How long is this gonna last?" I mean, this is a guy who has scissors for hands.
Yeah, but
it's like this can only go on for so long.
A bizarre fish out of water comedy.
Yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of the laughs in this movie, like, you laugh, but you feel bad about it.
Yeah. I know, this is the ultimate Tim Burton character, but it's like, because he's like, oh no, he's doing accidental harm, but oh no, it's not his fault, he's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
He is a man who has scissors for hands.
He's just so naive, he is a child with scissors for hands.
It's so weird, and like, the turn that this movie takes, like when he like gets arrested and the townspeople like turn against him, like, good lord, it's like.
And then you have the monstrous bully character.
Oh god!
I did not expect to show up in this movie.
I mean, okay, that's like kind of the elephant in the room with this movie. This movie was because Burton was definitely like a kind of a weird dude as a kid and was probably bullied a lot. And I feel like this movie was kind of his like personal revenge on all the jocks and bullies he knew during high school. I mean,
this seems like his personal revenge against everyone.
Yeah.
In his life. It's his personal revenge. This Edward Scissorhands seems to be Tim Burton in a certain regard.
No, and that's what's interesting about it. And personal projects like this, I think we've talked about this. Like, this movie feels very personal, and a lot of the times when directors get to indulge a very personal kind of passion project like that, it doesn't go very well. And you can see some of like the problems of those types of movies in this, but god damn it, I don't know if Tim Burton has ever put anything more beautiful to film than that moment when Winona Ryder says, "Hold me," and Johnny Depp says, "I can't." I almost cried. It was so beautiful.
I'm going to say this, like, this is one thing I noticed, and I remember thinking about, like, why is this so charming and whimsical, whereas, like, some of his later stuff is just so sludgy and just so beyond the pale. And I think it is just the practicals. Bo Welsh had to build all this shit. He had to build that castle, he had to build all the suburbia. he had to build all the weird prosthetics on Johnny on the weird prosthetics and weird leather outfit on Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Which is like, and that lends a human touch that like a computer just can't emulate, especially when you're Tim Burton and you're using a lot of computer effects, because that's just the best way to do some of the stuff nowadays.
Yeah,
and it looked very real, and it very much added to the cartoonish of the tone quite well.
Like I noticed that like the castle that Edward Scissorhands lives in is like, it's supposed to be made out of stone, but it all just looks like this plaster set someone constructed. And instead of going, "Oh, that's terrible," I said, "Oh, that's adorable."
Because I think it's interesting now, because like we as a generation, I think like kind of have a nostalgia for practical effects and for the era when people built things, which is why we're so enamored by like Fury Road. And you know, to see that now, I'm sure there are people that like kind of scoff at that and are like, "Oh, that looks so fake," but like we enjoy it. And you know, I think like I'm stealing this right from the Vidiots, but like I wonder if people are ever going to feel that way about bad early 2000s CGI.
I think, well, the bad early 2000s CGI, I think I was talking about this in, like, why I enjoy really early Star Trek as opposed to maybe something as equally campy like Doctor Who, or at least modern Doctor Who, is that in Doctor Who it's bad CGI effects, and that's just not charming, whereas in Star Trek you just have people in ridiculous makeup, and that's infinitely more charming and infinitely more human.
Yeah.
And I just find that way more funny and way more charming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just a waiting game to see is whether we'll find bad CGI charming at some point.
I never will, but we'll see.
Neither will I, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we're already products of our time.
So
that's a bit depressing. But anyways.
So why do you think this movie like struck such a chord with all three of us?
I think I sort of think that Tim Burton definitely delivered on his part, because this is a quite hilarious exercise of the uncanny valley, because you have a mostly normal person, maybe who appears slightly goth, but he has scissors for hands, and he's at the point where like his inventor was almost about to complete him until the inventor died, as we later find out. So then he's sort of left living with his scissor hands, making shrubs and ice sculptures, and then being introduced to a normal world. I assume it's around the 1950s.
Well, the timeline is kind of MB. It's more like just a fairy tale land.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. It's kind of this fairy tale land with these fairy tale characters, and I think it's just because this movie has a lot of character. Like that policeman you see, what's his character? I have no idea. But when he's on screen, you feel like that guy has a backstory. That guy has a character. All the women you see, they should feel like cutouts of each other, but they all feel unique. They all wear unique things and all have unique personalities. Edward Scissorhands himself some might say he's a pretty minimal character. But goddammit, he works.
Yeah.
Like you get Johnny Depp that's a great performance from Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like the Frankenstein monster thing, where it's like he's designed in a way, where you can't help but feel sorry for him constantly.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
And I think there's just a lot of it's just not a very cynical movie.
Yeah, I mean,
outside of like how much he hates Suburbia,
maybe.
Yeah. Well, because I read something about this movie, meaning I was reading the Wikipedia page, and apparently Burton said like he did not like mean to hate on Suburbia with this movie. He didn't see it as like a bad place. He just saw it as like a strange place that he could like have some fun with. I mean, I don't know whether he's just being kind of playful with that,
town.
But
it's his little town.
I don't know.
World.
I mean, all I can say is, I don't know. As someone who often was a bit of an outsider as a child, I think this is probably the ultimate outsiders movie. And
It's the ultimate goth movie, certainly, because it literally involves this goth-looking character being thrust into the pastels of suburbia.
Yeah. But I don't know, and in an
annoying way.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the beginning of the Tim Burton Johnny Depp partnership. This is the first time they worked together.
Benefits and non-benefits alike.
The beginning of a beautiful friendship that would eventually turn into a not so beautiful friendship. I mean, well, I don't know what their personal relationship is like now, but it has not sown some good results over the last few years. But
to quote Johnny Depp, he likes. To quote John Oliver, he likes Johnny Depp. Yeah, that's all. He likes him.
Yeah. But hey, how great is Winona Ryder in this movie?
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yes, and
I love everyone in this movie. I love the fucking wild Christian lady from Oregon, and then Edward Scissorhands builds this Satan hedge in front of her window.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you feel about some of his other stuff, like Batman or Batman Returns, this might be Burton's best movie. I mean,
I know I'm kind of on the I'm kind of on the Darren Franich train with the Batman movies. They're not. I don't think they're empirically as good as the Nolan stuff, but I do think I think there was something really fascinating about his two Batman movies. But I think you could make an argument that this is one of his best. Granted, I do adore Ed Wood.
No. Oh, I haven't seen Ed Wood yet. Shoot.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, that one's fascinating.
I've been meaning to see that forever. Great. And then I ride hard for Beetlejuice, but that's less to do with the movie itself and more with just the window dressing of it all, like Michael Keaton's performance and like the set design and the creature design and the banana boat song scene and all that stuff.
That's just Bo Welsh going nuts. It looks great.
I love Beetlejuice.
My parents adore Beetlejuice, and so do I.
Yes. So
it's got a massive model town. How could I not?
So Edward Scissorhands, we like it. We love it.
We really like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was
It's got character. Remember that boy's character.
It shows how a man of doing simple kindness out of ignorance can be a total slave of society and lack free will.
And puncture a waterbed.
Yes, that too.
It's a great scene. God damn. Like him and Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder and this it's just adorable. It's just a wonderful thing to watch.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing. So before we get into Halloween here, I meant to do this earlier, but I forgot. I just kind of want to talk about like the state of the horror film and our opinions on it. Just because I think we can tie this in to the film itself.
Well, to be brutally honest, I just don't watch them.
Yeah, neither do I.
I don't watch them either.
Because I think we've just heard so much about like how modern horror has gone to shit that I've just got it drilled in my head that it's a horror. Not unlike comedies, if it's coming out and it's a comedy or a horror movie, I just avoid it.
Yeah. Well,
I just won't see it.
I mean, like, when I say The Thing is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, I don't watch a lot of scary movies. And
yes.
I'm sure The Thing is plenty scary.
Well, it's also interesting because, like, do you remember, like, 3 or 4 years ago, like, everyone was complaining about, like, how horror as a genre was just, like, dead and how it was just, like, not... But, like, within the last few years, there's been kind of a revitalization with, like, some very well-reviewed, like, low-budget horror movies coming out, like You're Next.
It has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. That fucking Ouija movie.
Yeah. Like, the Ouija movie and, like, Don't Breathe was another one this year. Lights Out got good reviews.
Lights Out.
You're Next got
Don't
very
Breathe.
good reviews. Yeah. Like, we're kind of... And It Follows, which I still haven't seen.
Yeah,
but, like... I don't know, but, like, no matter how good the reviews of these movies are, like, I still don't see them, because, like, I have no interest in them.
Drilled into my head that modern horror is shit, don't go to support it.
And
even when people are telling me it's good, I still can't get that out of my mind.
For me,
I'm just not a horror connoisseur.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly like I've always felt like horror movies, like the plot is usually built around trying to scare you rather than the other way around. And that always...
It's built around getting a visceral response rather than my idea, whereas you build a movie like it's a visual essay.
Right. Or like just building it, like letting the story and the characters, do the work for you. And that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So horror movies have never been my thing.
I mean, I feel like horror movies are definitely for it's like the haunted house of movies, which is a terrible analogy, but they're mainly for entertainment and to feel alive as opposed to observe what substance they have or
which don't have. We're all dead inside.
Well, which is fine, I think, but I don't know. I've just never been a fan of horror movies, and I don't.
Also comes. I think. Are we all on the same page where we just prefer character movies to plot movies?
Yeah.
Are we all on the same page with that?
Yeah.
I think after watching Halloween, yes.
I mean, I like movies.
Most people are, to be honest.
I like movies that a movie with a great plot can suck me in, like anything else. But
I'm not anti-plot movies.
Yeah. I usually, if a movie has like a lot of plot. And like balances it in a fun or clever way, I tend to really, really like those movies, like say the Grand Budapest Hotel, but or
a lot of noirs.
Sure, or I'm trying to think of like a farce that like where the plot like The Big Lebowski or something, right?
That's about the Big Lebowski.
Yeah. But often those movies kind of end up being more about character anyway, so.
Especially everything by the Coen Brothers is character driven.
Yeah. But I guess all this just brings us back around to John Carpenter's Halloween.
This was so spooky.
Why do you think people really love this movie?
Well,
because there was this
look,
hardcore cult around this movie.
I don't know anyone who loves this movie, quite frankly. I feel like it's more about the legacy, because this movie really did help to birth, along with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, and Nightmare on Elm Street, even that was a few years after this movie. That was kind of even in the waves, I guess, after.
I mean, this is this is a movie that does represent part of the foundation of the horror genre.
Yeah.
That we know today.
Well, yeah,
and I think
this is definitely one of these, and for me, this was kind of an underwhelming experience.
Oh, I think it was very underwhelming for the majority of us.
Well, so this movie came out in 78. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 74. Those two movies together kind of birthed the beginning of the slasher movie as we know it. And I think it's more about the impact that Halloween had on the horror genre and on propelling the modern, because this movie came out in 1978. What else? This movie, what else was coming out at this time? This was on the tail end of the new Hollywood. This was, this was the 70s. This movie came out quite a while ago, and
I mean, this has Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, in her film debut.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter and Wes Craven are kind of thought of as the two horror auteurs.
Do people really consider John Romero?
George Romero, you mean? George Romero, you mean?
George Romero.
Yeah. I think so.
Shit in Pittsburgh malls. How should I not?
I think they do. I feel like he's more among film aficionados, I would say. People who really like movies, I think, tend to talk more about George Romero than just horror fans or casual horror fans. Yeah. But I could be wrong about that. But I don't know. I mean, I've also seen. I saw most of the original Nightmare on Elm Street last year. I mean,
what do you think of that?
That movie's also okay. That movie at least has an interesting premise going for it, as opposed to this movie, which is just crazy guy gets out of mental hospital and comes to kill everybody. Which I guess, if this was like the first time that anyone really did that, I mean, okay. This is probably yet another example of like a movie that looked way better back when it first came out. Because like it was something new that hadn't really been done before. And now it's just been like done to death. So we are just really...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's been deconstructed and redone to the point of just being rote. And we're to the point where we just go back to Halloween and just go, okay. And I've always said, like, the best horror movie, the best classics are those that transcend being deconstructed. Like, that's what most of Spielberg's work does. That's what we talked about. It's like, if you can... that's a truly great movie. It's when it transcends being deconstructed and being reworked and ripped off. And you were saying, Garrett?
Oh, I was going to say that the whole plot of Michael Myers breaking out of a mental asylum, going back to his hometown, and then starting going on a killing rampage, it doesn't... After spending what may have been maybe the past 5 years of my life watching Criminal Minds, this doesn't make shit sense.
Well, neither does Criminal Minds, Garrett, but
I guess it comes down to this point. Like, the only really interesting thing left in this movie to talk about is like its really weird view of women, and like how all the women Mike Myers kills in this they're almost naked, they're promiscuous, they talk about sex, so on and so forth. And like the only guy who gets killed, he's fully clothed and he's quickly killed.
Yeah. Well,
with a stab wound.
I mean, I will say that there are a couple interesting things that I actually did like about this movie. One of them is kind of the look of it. Like it's kind of interesting. It's got it used a lot of long takes. It almost kind of reminded me of like early Wes Anderson, like Rushmore and whatnot. Which, I mean, I will say every day that goes by, I appreciate the look of Rushmore more and more. But I don't know. I did like the opening shot of this movie is like this bravura like POV handheld shot.
And I love the bit where they put the mask over his face.
Yeah.
And you just see through the eyes. That's wonderful.
Little mask with tiny hands.
Little mask, yes.
With tiny hands, controlling a knife.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at your hand while you're stabbing me?
But yeah, and so there's that. And
what do you guys? Oh, you can continue.
Well, I was just gonna say that like this movie doesn't have a lot of like gore and explicit violence in it, which
no, it's mostly off screen. No, well, not off screen, but it's just not very explicit.
Yeah, and like
right, yes.
The plot is minimal, as we've noted. It all takes place over the course of like one night, and like that scene where the one guy gets stabbed is actually quite good because like they use like the lighting and kind of the framing to create the mood of scariness rather than just like shocking you with gore, which I think is actually a good technique.
That's like there's a weird spotlightness to that scene.
Yeah.
It's like there's just this one big light source and everything else is kind of shrouded.
Yeah. I mean, that being said,
all the focus is on the guy, and the guy is being murdered before our very eyes.
Yeah.
Well, before our camera eyes, but anyways.
Look, I mean,
I know this movie's also kind of been in vogue to do a psychoanalytic look into this movie. Like, that's just a thing. There was like a bunch of articles on the psychoanalytic nature of Halloween, and I don't think it deserves that. Partially because psychoanalytics are just bullshit anyway.
Well,
but also because this movie just doesn't really dwell on that all too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I think it probably should have a bit more.
It would have been more interesting, certainly.
Yeah.
If it really went into this stuff instead of just going, hey, here's a slasher movie, but he kills only naked women.
Well, I mean, it's also interesting to see, like, just kind of, like, these slasher movie tropes, originating here. Like, that whole thing with, like, killing the sexual women has become very much like a slasher movie trope, and, like...
It's even created the woman who survives at the end has been called the final girl.
Right, the whole final girl thing.
Trope onto itself.
Yeah. I don't know. between this and The Thing, I do think John Carpenter is a good director. Like, he clearly, like, knows how to make movies, and he has a good grasp of things, and, like...
It's certainly a competent movie, I'll never deny that.
Yeah, and, like, how to kind of manipulate, like, angles and mise-en-scène, like, to his advantage, but... I don't know, but, like, the main thing I took away from this movie is, like, it's boring as fuck. Like, you spend the whole movie waiting for something to happen. Like, Michael Myers kills, like, 3 people. It's just, and in between is a lot of, like, high school girl bullshit and kids running around doing stupid shit and, like, I don't know.
And being transgressive for no reason.
And stupid-ass sex.
Stupid-ass sex. Yeah, stupid-ass sex.
Not stupid-ass sex, but stupid-ass sex.
Yes, thank you, yes.
I really...
Although I do have in my notes, I think when that, the quote, see anything you like, I think I have right next to it, no! Okay.
Hey now.
I know, it's got this really slow pace, which is fine, but because we've seen all these tropes before, it's just like it's a fucking pellet gun to the nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I can't pretend that I enjoyed watching this movie. There are some interesting things in it, but overall, it's just kind of, I don't know.
It exists. I'll give it that. It exists, and it influenced a whole bunch of movies I've never seen.
It was a little disappointing, I will say. Actually, it was quite a bit disappointing, but...
I guess I kind of... Well, I hate to say this every time to say I expect it, because I expect nothing of every movie. But I guess I'm just not a fan of slasher movies, so I was going into this with, like, a...
Yeah. I had kind of hoped, just because this was kind of, like, one of, like, the in the canon of horror movies and, like, one of the original ones, that it might have something more interesting going on, but, like, I don't know. Yeah.
They're interesting things, but they don't help the viewing experience.
Yeah.
It's a movie built to be talked about by people afterwards. It's not really... There's just not really much there to actually watch.
I mean, there are some parts where I think this was more towards the beginning where it highlighted a sense of fate, and especially with one quote, and then the book ends. I thought that was funny, but like it doesn't really come full circle on that, and that sort of falls apart.
Like any ideas of fate are really just buried underneath what this movie's trying to do to you emotionally.
I didn't feel any emotion from this movie.
That's the problem. It's trying to scare you. That's the only emotion it gets.
I felt as cold as Michael Myers' stare as he slowly knifes you to death. That's what I felt.
Oh, also, like, the fucking... Michael Myers fucking breathing in your ear every single time he's on screen, that got old real quick.
Gets on your nerves. Yeah. I'm going to say this, like, I know it's kind of become iconic, but I hate the music in this thing.
I kind of like it.
I fucking hate it's like janky-ass synth stuff.
I mean,
there'll be silence, and then janky-ass synth comes out of nowhere.
They sure do overuse it, but, the
main, like,
yeah.
That's alright, but everything else is just like somebody just leaped onto a synth piano with all feet and arms, and then just down.
Is this more annoying than the soundtrack to Spotlight? Because I'm going to argue that this is more annoying.
Debatable.
No, because the soundtrack to Spotlight didn't make me go, what the fuck is this?
Okay. I'm glad we got that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just... whatever.
We are thoroughly underwhelmed by how...
Yeah, I do want to check out some of John Carpenter's other stuff, because I actually...
Maybe I'll check out The Thing. He seems like an interesting director.
He seems like an interesting director. I enjoyed The Thing. Assault on Precinct 13 sounds interesting. Like, apparently he's much better at, like, suspense than, like, really actual horror.
Is he?
I mean, I don't know.
Is he?
From this movie, it doesn't really seem like it.
I guess this just continues the grand tradition of this podcast of just going at classic movies.
Well, I don't know. I don't know really how classic, quote unquote, this movie is. I mean,
it certainly has a following, and it's certainly been influential.
Yeah.
If that doesn't constitute at least a cult classic, I don't know what does.
Well, sure. I don't know. I really don't have much else to say.
No, I think the only thing else I'd say is like, is this movie trying to punish promiscuous women?
Carpenter denies that because, of course, Carpenter denies that. But
I know Carpenter denies that, but here's the thing about it: in the movie, like all of the people who get killed are promiscuous in some way. Like the opening scene in this movie is Mike Myers killing his sister because she's going to have sex.
Maybe he just doesn't understand subtext or just doesn't care.
No, I think he understands subtext. I just don't think he realizes the subtext of his own movie. I don't know. It's bizarre.
It was a little jarring to think about that also.
Yeah. So, but do we recommend Halloween?
I can't in good conscience. I just don't think it's very entertaining, and I also don't think it's scary. And there's really no other point in watching horror movies other than to be entertained and be scared. So,
yes, and this does neither. So I can't either.
I guess I can if you're like a big horror junkie and you just missed it. Or like
somehow.
Well, that's wrong. If you're a horror junkie, you probably already. Yeah, I can't see if you haven't seen it up to this point. I can't really, in good conscience, say go and see it immediately. I guess I wouldn't object to people seeing it. There are interesting things about it.
Well, I would never object.
And it has a cult following, so like I think it has some merit. I personally don't recommend it, but it might be worth checking out if you're just a big fan of horror history.
Sure.
Oh goodness. So what are we going to do next week? If there is a fucking next week.
Why would there not be a next week?
Yeah, just bullshit. Not in classes.
Mm.
Exam season final exam season is coming right around the corner.
No.
It's about a month away.
Yeah, but when I have a bunch of papers to do.
Well, we're not quite there yet. I don't know. What should we do next week? I know we talked about those John Belushi comedies.
Like what was it? Like Blues Brothers?
Blues Brothers and Animal House, I think.
Animal House.
So like two classic Earhart-less movies.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen the entirety of Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch Animal House for a while. I have seen Blues Brothers. Blues Brothers is long. Like, Blues Brothers is surprisingly long. It's like over 2 hours.
How long? And how much of that is made of the insane car chase at the end?
Quite a lot. Yeah, Blues Brothers is 132 minutes. It's it's good.
Okay.
I don't know. I would like to see Animal House. That's a movie I've been meaning to watch for a while.
Do we just want to set in John Belushi for now?
Well,
like with Blues Brothers and Animal House, and just see if we can do it, if we can stomach it.
Well, I don't know.
I think we might be able to stomach it.
That's the problem, is we say we're going to do a fun week every other week, and then we don't have fun.
Well, okay, let's watch Animal House, because I really do want to watch that.
Okay.
And then there's got to be something else we could do.
Shit. Oh, we can do Amelie.
Oh, no.
We can do Amelie. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
no.
Yes.
All right, well, this has been a long time coming.
Yes, we can finally do Amelie. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
All right, then. Well...
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Okay, no, I'm going into it with an open mind. You've told me that creepy ass poster is not indicative of the movie as a whole.
From my perspective, the movie is far more is very charming. If anything, it kind of maybe you'll get an Edward Scissorhands. I hope you get like an Edward Scissorhands vibe out of it, where you just like this. It's this movie built around like this really quirky main character and her kind of going into other people's lives in this like fairy tale Paris.
All right,
it's a lot of fun. It's gorgeously shot.
I wanted to watch Wings of Desire, but we can do that later.
Or maybe The Wind Rises or Princess Mononoke, but
we can do like more Miyazaki movies later. I think we've Miyazaki'd ourselves out at this point.
Well, okay. John, you've been waiting to do Amelie.
We can do like a Wim Wenders week where we do like Paris, Texas.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we do need to watch Paris, Texas. It was the #1 movie of the Video Store show's first year.
Yes.
Which was very weird.
Yes.
But hey,
Hey, it was. I think maybe they're just on the high of Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe they are, but I feel like they would not have. Clay Keller would not have put that movie at #1 if he did not genuinely think it was.
No. I think they certainly love it. But
I also really want to watch. I also really want to watch Repo Man at some point.
Repo Man, ooh, that'd be interesting. Wait a minute, we could do a Man Week where we do Repo Man and Demolition Man.
I do not want to watch Demolition Man.
Hey, the Vidians gave it high praise.
Did they? I didn't listen to all of that episode because I had other things to do. But
I think they talked about it pretty. They talked about they seemed pretty. They talked pretty highly of it.
Okay.
I know that just.
That doesn't necessarily mean. What was that? There was some movie they really liked that we just hated, wasn't there?
Let's see, what was it? I can't quite remember.
I can't remember either. I'd have to go back and it might have been Titanic actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
No, I haven't seen Titanic in a while. I don't know.
I have never
do not like Titanic.
seen Titanic at all.
It's been a while, so I'm going to withhold my real judgments on that. Oh Jesus, what is this? There has to have been one like they recommended and we did for the podcast and just hated.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, okay, so next week is Animal House and Amelie, another one of the very strange combos we've become known for on this show.
Yeah. Hey, we're not known for congruity.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we did the Simpsons movie and
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Inside Llewyn Davis in the same episode.
So we're going to see Jean-Pierre Genet's Amélie.
Yes.
And John Belushi starring Animal House.
Yes. Cool.
They're both A movies.
I'm okay with this.
Guys.
Also, we need to get around to this Italian neorealism episode. I wanted to do this like right after we got back from Summer of Filmmakers, and we've kept putting it off.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot. Like, yeah, what would we like? We definitely do Bicycle Thieves.
Yeah,
You haven't seen Bicycle Thieves.
Yeah, and then Rome Open City was something I saw last year and really enjoyed, so I think we could also do that.
I haven't seen Rome Open City. So.
It's quite good. Okay, we'll keep that on the docket.
Okay. So it looks like the future's rosy here.
Yes.
The Hack Fraud Show.
Rosy with foreign films.
And eventually La La Land.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're closing in on it. We're closing in.
Not as fast as I'd like, but no, it's getting very high praise.
Okay, that's good.
It's like the front runner for all the awards right now. And also we'll watch Whiplash when we get there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, like what were we gonna pair with Whiplash again? Oh, La La Land.
Well, we might just see La La Land and then talk about Whiplash.
Okay.
My boy, Damien Chazelle. All right, well, thank you for tuning in to the old Hack Fraud Show, and we will see you next week. Well, we've been over this. We will not see you, and you will not see us, but you will hear us. I hope.
But we can't hear you.
I need to stop. All right, we're done here. Oh, look.
Oh, you found it.
No, one of the first things on one of the things on the first page is the bathtub scene. I'm surprised they're allowed to use that thumbnail.
Oh, are there tits on the thumbnail?
Oh, yes.
We don't do clickbait. We don't use all... Do we use all caps?
No.
We don't use all caps.